All right, welcome everybody to our first working group session. We're here at a Palermo headquarters in Burlington with our first working group to begin workshopping a degree in sustainability, which will be a multi-dimensional take on that word. People may think of one way or another, but we're going to sort of broadcast all the points of academia and thought that it can touch. I'm going to go around. We want to get closer.
Okay.
We can all introduce ourselves. This is Dan. I'm speaking. Dan Kirk, Director of Operations and Faculty Support.
Michael Abrams, an instructor, a future instructor.
And Mike will be sort of leading the workshop on the degree proposal, as this is sort of his brainchild.
Rob Skiff, you've heard me too many times today, so I hope you know who I am.
So we've taken the degree program proposal points that Rob created on the Wiki and created a separate sustainability degree program page that we'll use sort of as our, our slate that we're going to build our materials through. So I guess I'll turn it over to Michael here, and we'll sort of work through Rob's bullets. We'll update, as you can see on the screen that we're sharing, is a wiki space, much like anybody in the world who wants an account and signs up to join our wiki can do, and we'll start drafting it to sort of create an iterative and example process of how one might go about proposing a degree or certificate program. So I know it's kind of tough to see on that screen, but that's the editing screen. Do you want to take, or do you want to sort of dictate?
I guess take it.
Okay. So our first point, as with any proposal, we start with introducing it. It's a polite thing to do. So yeah, Michael, go ahead with.
Okay, the very basic justification for the degree program.
I guess we could start with sort of a systems thinking approach to how sustainability touches, I guess, all aspects of thought or life. Or
that it's the critical issue of our time.
Go ahead. Let's throw it up.
Certainly one of them.
So when you're talking about sustainability, so the basic definition is, the ability of a system to remain in homeostasis, or?
I would say the long-term viability of civilization.
Okay. Now, when we talk about civilization, we're talking about, a lot of sustainability pieces. It's not just talking about, is it human systems integration, long-term viability within the natural world?
Well, that's the most obvious sign that the current global system isn't sustainable, that the biosphere is collapsing as we speak. But it has other aspects, the social and economic aspects, that societies are becoming more and more fragmented, and gaping income inequality.
Okay.
So the justification for the program, sustainability, I think that's a good lead-in that it is the critical, all-encompassing issue of our time. What is the impetus to teach that to folks who want to learn? And I guess, why is it important that students learn the multiple facets of how we're defining sustainability here?
Because this gives them a context for pretty much anything else they do, and it's a subject that's very important on its own terms.
So that'd be okay. So let's throw that in there. That it can inform decision making across disciplines, and create, a way of thinking across any decisions that a human might make.
Okay, and then after you've written that, why don't you save that for a second, because the great thing about the Wiki piece is I'm on a different computer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up something I wrote on sustainability, and I'm going to cut and paste it in. Okay?
Across disciplines, or so then navigate up and click the save button there, and then Rob can sort of leapfrog off of our draft work.
Okay, you hit save, and then I'll go in.
It takes a minute to register.
Yeah, just hit save one more.
Did I?
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. So let me just go on the Palermo Wiki.
We're also going to, Scott Cohen is joining us in the cyber world.
Okay, that's great. Hey, and just remember, all those out here who see this later on, is that although the three of us are in the same room, this conversation could happen over Google Hangouts and sharing the wiki too, or Skype or whatever. So let me just go to the sustainability degree program. Give me just 1 second. Huh. It doesn't seem like it's saved.
It's there.
I'm just going to do a few edits to the format. Whoops.
Actually, this works better. You can totally see.
Just give me 1 second. So I'm actually going to just for so we don't get busted for plagiarism. Okay. I'm going to create a little link to the in parentheses to the source of this. Actually, wait. Just give me a second. And I will do the link.
I guess while Rob's doing that, when I could tend to focus on the word justification for the degree certificate program. I think stating, I mean, I agree completely. Sustainability is the critical, encompassing issue. It creates a context for decision making across our disciplines. I think those are objective ways to describe sustainability, but I think when proposing a degree program, we really need to emphasize why. These do it too, but I guess I'm looking a little bit more for, why do students need this, or why does it need to be not why do they need it, why does it need to be available to students? In the academic sense, I guess also in the global sense, other than, because we could say that some people might say that about economics.
Okay, why don't you guys hit refresh for a second? Okay. So what I placed in there was a letter I wrote 15 years ago from the Vermont Common School I started, and it's about it discusses the notion of sustainability, meaning that, hey, we live in this time of rapidly changing pieces. I mean, it says we must prepare our children to understand and shape their roles. Okay, you got to change children, which I can do, but we're talking about sustainability being understanding the relationship between the individual, the local community, and the global within the context of human civilization and the natural world. Okay? We've got to understand, we've got to make sure that we prepare people to understand their role within that context. And that's really, really important. So let me just finish. I'll make one other change. Prepare engaged citizens. But the great thing about the wiki is, it's kind of, we can start the process of writing it down, then we can change it later on. And so that underlying link is to where I took it from, the founder's letter, so that, again, we don't get busted for plagiarism.
So yeah, there's a perfect example of collaborating, with two potential faculty members for a proposal, bringing together two angles of thought to kind of create the direction or perhaps justification of the program. I think that's a good
starting.
Yeah, and again, that's the beautiful part about the wiki is it sits, you have time to think on it, you come back, you tinker, you move on. So we can move on to potential classes, and this should also just be I think a brainstorm. And we'll start. Rob, you would know too, but with a program, you're going to want essentially third year equivalent and fourth year equivalent, or maybe we can view it in the 60 to 90 credits and then 90 to 120 credit student range, because most of the first 60 are going to be interspersed with general ed and maybe a few degree courses, but students tend to build in that direction.
Now, in the presentation I made earlier, we talked about how, hey, start off by listing the skills. Okay. So what we can do is, what are the list of skills that you need to sort of understand sustainability? What's up?
I'm just reading some comments from online.
Okay.
One of our faculty members asks, justification as to why they need the skills, i.e. to become responsible stewards of the world's resources. So again, I'm just going to copy that right in.
And whoever's making the comments, the great thing about sort of the wiki
jump in
is just look, make sure, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we save any changes we make, but what it'll allow you to do is to, you can edit in things right now. There's also on the side, there should be a piece of being able to, if you go on to view revisions, you can view it, but there's also, I'm going to make sure that we've got the discussion tabs. So you keep working. Let me make sure that we've got the discussion tabs available for people.
So why don't we jump in, while Rob's doing that, we can jump into start, across what traditionally would be viewed as a junior, or maybe a second semester sophomore, higher level intro to sustainability courses.
So start with global change.
Maybe, Rob, what do you think about after each course adding the nearest generic discipline? Is that too pigeonholing, or is that?
No, I think, remember, sure.
Or just like soch, or?
Well, maybe put one or two, because there might be some people.
Yeah.
Someone said, War Maiden is saying having trouble getting into the wiki. Red Hat is on it. So, the one problem that we've got in terms of wikis is that, again, probably only one person can be editing at the same time.
It's not quite a Google Doc.
No.
So good, yeah. So this would be I would say somewhere along in environmental science, environmental studies. And then, you know, we were talking a little bit before we started the broadcast on economic versions. There's probably anthro angles. We could go soc angles. Even business. And so what do you envision this discipline to be?
Economics / political science.
Okay. So I'd say so you can hit the edit again, and or did it going? Yeah, just go for it. And then cool. Now we'll go back. So we don't have to say it. Maybe we'll save it after every section. It'll be easier to flow through. Would you do a business course? Would you do a global change in race relations or global change in sort of income, how it affects distribution of income? Or would you stick maybe to go into a higher level?
Oh, I think that could be included to globalization.
Okay.
How it affects income.
Okay.
That's part of it.
So, to get a degree program, we're going to be looking at about 20 courses in this list. So we should just throw as much as we can at the wall and see what sticks. Perfect. Okay. I'll just keep going. Let's go. Okay. So what this also does is it allows you to sort of put up sort of like a job posting, I guess. It's saying, look, we're looking for instructors who can teach this, who want to join in the development of this degree program. So, if folks are interested, they can come and look at the course list, say, oh, I'd love to teach that.
Okay, Colleen, right now, I changed, she said economics of sustainability, economics of poverty, international foodways. Now I've changed the settings on the entire wiki, so there's going to be a discussion tab on every page.
Okay.
So
also like comments.
So in other words, if you've got something that you can't necessarily comment on right now, in terms of editing the wiki, throw it into the discussion tabs, and we'll get all of those.
I mean, I would say do intro to ecological economics. Rob and I took a course, carbon neutral economies.
Yep.
And that was a workshop style
seminar.
Yep. For higher. We were in grad school, so we were able to more workshop ideas, having learned the basic cores.
Now I really think that if you're going to talk about sustainability, you have to understand system dynamics. You have to know computer modeling.
Yep.
So really,
introduction to system science.
Yeah, introduction to system science. But I really think system dynamics. I've been working. I've tried to get some people creating courses in system dynamics because it's a really great bridge tool for laymen to start dealing with the subject of sustainability and complex systems. And so, yeah, and I can see that being a whole nother, discipline or degree program, which would be great.
Yeah, or even a certificate in modeling.
Colleen's going to join us probably because Daniel just sent her an invitation to the Hangout. So Colleen, if you want to just join us in the discussion, log on to Google Plus, and then let's get you directly involved in what's going on. So yeah, I think that if you're talking about population dynamics and resource use,
yep.
The fact is that first or second order equations or structural equation modeling, you have to have system dynamics. You have to have a way to deal with feedback loops. That you can't just talk about, hey, let's grow coffee in shady places. That's not going to work. There has to be that major connection.
Actually, that could be the second course I developed because I have a textbook in mind for that.
Okay, perfect.
So we just work together with that brainstorm in maybe 5 minutes. Not that this is set in stone, of course, but there's 12 titles here.
Hit save on it so you don't lose
that are viable, relevant, and a good foundation to either spark ideas for more class thoughts, or to develop these out if folks within the Plano community or folks who haven't yet joined as faculty members see one of these and say, that's the course I want to teach. And again, if multiple people want to teach the same sort of title, that's okay for so many reasons, that starting times, different teaching styles, different learning styles, courses could start 3 weeks apart, 3 months apart, 3 days apart, but the students that we plan on reaching are going to have different schedules, are going to have different demands, and by offering multiple versions of the same course, either from the same instructor at a staggered time frame or from different instructors also at a staggered time frame, it allows more students to access this information. So don't be afraid to create alternative versions of similar titles because it'll get more students the skills that they need and are asking for, and that's ultimately our goal in working here.
Now if you go up, go onto the discussion tab, okay, and you'll see, okay, what's the list of skills, and we need a list of skills, and then you can comment. The discussion tabs are the perfect place to get involved in sort of the ideological battles and bloodletting that we all love to participate in as as academics. So if you don't like a particular section, start arguing over it and then place it in the wiki. But yeah, discussion tabs are really critical. Jed Harris Keith says ecological anthropology as a potential class.
Sure.
So let's stick it on.
Okay. So we can continue to go back and forth, but we might as well. I don't necessarily. This is another good question for Rob. We aren't proposing something as essentially that you don't need you wouldn't need to be accredited, much like engineering, or if you're going to build a rocket, to take a degree like this. I don't know if there are certain accrediting bodies that would. Of course, our professional associations, like societies and such, but
ecological economics.
Yeah, Rob. So, in a degree like this, would there be an association that a program would try to align with, or would it be just a...
Well, let's say that I was, so professional associations, there's got to be a few, out there on, sustainable, there's got to be a few sustainability, different groups. But like, for example, let's say that you were associated with Woods Hole.
Sure.
Okay? Now, you might, hey, can we get John Todd, okay? Google John Todd's name, okay, from Living Technologies. And, wow, that might be a great person to, connect with in terms of, knowledgeable of sustainability pieces. There's another group in, you could say, okay, and/or organizations, Chris Soderquist, or IC Systems, okay? So you can list kind of, different, you can list different groups that might, be interested in affiliating or might be of use. I mean, then of course I put down, there are tons of foundations who want to fund sustainability work. So, let's pick, one. Let's say the Argosy, Foundation.
What is that one?
I'll look it up and put it in the Wiki. So yeah, I would put some.
This wouldn't be a in order to make a degree program, it wouldn't require association with these organizations for this type of.
No, you can make it right here. If it's, for example, an engineering or a professional degree, like legal something, then of course we've got to make sure that we have the proper accreditations to offer that degree piece. But it might be it might be really good to list potential in this section funders that you might want to approach. Detailed timeline and/or steps from proposal until the graduation of the first class.
I'm working on the introduction. By January.
Okay. Permaculture. So why don't we break that down though? I mean, just what level of degree? Are we talking a certificate or are we talking a full-blown, bachelor's? Because if we're talking a certificate, okay, why don't we say a timeline for the certificate, a timeline for the associates, a timeline, and in fact, what might be easier is a master's degree in this rather than going for an undergraduate degree, to be perfectly blunt. Because the master's won't have to deal with the general ed requirements.
Right, you go straight to.
Okay. It requires a certain higher level on the part of the faculty to teach it, but that might work.
We need to have a doctorate to take a master's degree for her.
You need at least a. Good God, our tweets are going crazy. You need at least a master's to teach in a master's program.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
I
mean, you're supposed to. Technically, you're supposed to teach at the level below.
Right.
Okay. But we can see.
So these are a bunch more coming in.
So let's talk about the certificate. So a certificate in sustainability would consist of,
You'd want
at least an introduction to this. So certificate, or let's say 4 classes. Let's not make it just 3. Let's say 4.
Yeah, 4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay, 4 to 6 courses, and they would be okay.
The introduction.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd want a natural science.
The global change.
Critical signage requirement.
Works in social sustainability.
Yep.
And I'd say an introduction to system dynamics.
Yeah, the skill. Canvas is going crazy also with, can you pull up the Canvas course? So system, okay, dynamics, computer, modeling. I mean, that's, and then that's a great 4 course. 4.
And 2 more electives.
Yeah, we could, yeah, electives. Yes, I think 2 electives. You know, if you're doing a 4 course certificate, the core is great. If you want to allow a little bit more, if a student wants to focus on 2 higher level modeling courses, or a little more economics, or a little more bio, or chem, or environmental, whatever, they can enhance that certificate. So depending on how it ends up, I think that's a great idea.
Well, and you can also see how we could add a certificate of sustainable business practices.
Right.
Which would be not in addition to this, but it might include, the first, intro to sustainability, social sustainability, system dynamics, and then 3 others in related to business, sustainable business accounting, things like that. So you can build the certificates out. One thing though to keep in mind for, I think everybody listening is, a problem with listing sort of certificates by class is that you really need to spend time thinking about the 6 to 10 skills that the people are going to be learning
From each course.
from each class. Now, you don't have to do that ahead of time. Okay, there's kind of a bunch of different ways to approach it. You don't have to do it ahead of time, meaning like, okay, now I need to come up with all the skills for a sustainability certificate first. Okay, but if I were to list out the 6 pieces, I'd want to then go back and think, okay, intro to sustainability, here are the skills or the content areas that have to be included in that, and list those 6 to 10 now before I move forward in building something more complicated.
That I've got.
Okay. Which is pretty important. Okay.
So
let's skip the masters.
we'll leave it open.
We'll leave it open. We'll just say, hey, there's got to be.
And no bachelors.
Well, yeah. Or let's put bachelors because a bachelor's needs
sustainability
sustainability.
credits. Yeah, we should have it all options.
Yes.
Masters should include an internship.
Yeah.
This would be 50 to 60 credits.
Well, it's got to be
in this.
sure.
In sustainability, in which in addition can add requirements.
Now remember that, and I think Aplerno, in some ways, Aplerno and the faculty are going to be the final arbiter with this, that courts could potentially fall under a bunch of different kinds of programs, okay? For example, if it were a bachelor's, I could see, an undergraduate class in, there was a great book called Ecological Imperialism, which was about how different groups brought over different kinds of animals and plants, fundamentally changing the biome and the environments of those places where they colonized. Something, along the line of, Hands on the Land, which is something that Jan Albers in Vermont did, or Changes in the Land by, I forget the guy at Yale. So you could see like a history of landscape or a history of geology, okay, a sort of an environmental history, the great book, something by, a course by Mike Davis, City of Quartz, or a course just on, his stuff on late Victorian Holocausts, okay, which was all centered around the El Nino effect and its impact on food systems and trade patterns in the 1800s. So you have to be flexible and open to allow people who are producing other things to basically be able to sign on or have that course, stand for one of the credits in your particular program. But that's where those skills things come into play. Because if you listed out the skills in a class, and the skills are listed in the discipline, okay, in the degree program, and you look and you say, oh, these skills here, oh, you need those skills, they're part of mine too. Then you say, okay, fine, this will
So it modularizes
classify.
it. It modularizes it.
Yeah, it just, I think, creates a better way of people, of students being able to navigate, saying, oh, this is a similar kind of class, and the professors being able to navigate, through it, because this is the group, this is where it gets tricky for a planner and for all of us is, the group that creates the sustainability, okay, we've got to figure out a really good way to do the governance and have it be open, but without it being, too hierarchical and counterproductive. Without getting involved in too much in the whole campus politics of one class, cross listings, etc. And it's kind of our job at a planner to try to control that. So somebody would have to come up with a really good reason why a course by Mike Davis, wouldn't necessarily be one of the things that could be part of that bachelor's degree in sustainability.
So what Scott Cohen just chimed in, and maybe this is something that we can look with the electives, if there is a core in a certificate or even a master's or a bachelor's, and we can have a bunch of different arms, but we could take sustainability from the economic, financial perspective, from a sociological perspective, from a political, public policy perspective, and a historical perspective. And maybe this particular program might not. Well, one program can't obviously do all of those, and this one might have a path sort of its own that Michael's sort of has planned out. But what this is showing is that this process of creating one, and this brainstorm of creating one program proposal has now sparked the idea for perhaps 5 or so more. Again, it's a long way to get it all the way through for any work that we're going to do for any proposal, but this process is the collaboration that we can do with the Palermo through Canvas, through apps like Google Hangouts, Skype, Google Docs, is going to inform a lot more, information sharing and idea creation. So that's great to see.
Well, I think there's also the fact that once you've spec this out, which I bet you and a few friends could do in the course of a week, okay, then you can submit it to us, and in this case, in sustainability, we'll take a look at a few programs, but Dan and I have the academic background in this field where we can take a look at the program and say, yeah, great, okay, not like up to the doctoral level, okay, but like for at least the certificate or the undergraduate piece, and we can say, wonderful, start making those, this sounds great, let's make it. And so, and that occurs all within a month or less. Talk about the quickness that we're going to be able to respond versus other institutions. It's great.
So here's a question: can a certification become the basis for either a quote major within a greater degree or the basis for an actual degree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. That might be a way to get at it. We've talked, this will come up more tomorrow, whoever said that's a great insight. We've talked about how the portfolio system and the list of skills, that I could see the case happening where you start out, you want a certificate in X, okay, and then you start taking classes, and you take classes that are just interesting to you, and you're building your skills, okay, and a particular degree program, of course, has the list of all the skills that you need for that degree, and then all of a sudden it appears in your email one time, hey, guess what? You've taken all the skills and courses necessary to earn a degree in X, okay, and us asking you whether you would like that degree awarded, even after you've received your certificate, or to say, hey, you've got 70% of a degree in X fulfilled, and 40% in a degree in this fulfilled. Do you want to make a choice? Do you want to have a meeting about which track you're going on? And that's all going to be able to happen with a combination of concentrating on the skills list and the data mining, but also the courses that people have completed. So it really all starts, the basis of everything, I think it's becoming clear, is that skills list and how we figure out that skills and that content piece.
And those are sub-course title.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as an advising system, this seems like a pretty traditional, I would think, method of advising where students, well, I guess you should, depending on their interests.
Yeah, I would see it as a traditional.
Advisee, advisor. So, and this should be all of us. Does that work where a student chooses an advisor who teaches at least one course in the program, someone who's listed themselves as an advisor?
Yeah, well, we haven't yet introduced our advisor yet.
Right.
So let's just stick with traditional advisee-advisor relationship for right now. We'll talk about that later on. Suffice it to say that there are all kinds of ways in which to find an advisor or a mentor to help guide you through your educational process. But instead of it being assumed that faculty members do this for free, we figured out a way to actually rate and pay faculty members. The students have to pay a small fee for this too, but how they become advisors and receive some payment for that, and that also, again, lowers the cost and increases the quality of the advising that happens. So we'll talk about that'll be coming out a little bit later.
And for here, again, early on, it would be 500, 1,500 per course, and then that depends on. Total depends on length of program, e.g. certificate, and master's, bachelor's, and on. So in about 45 minutes.
Could there be a BA, MA option?
A BA, MA option?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Traditional schools have combination BA. MAs would have.
Oh, like a 5th year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean,
because maybe the BA is subsumed within the MA, and it takes X more credits to get to the MA.
Yeah, that would be very much a 2.0 version of an offering.
Okay.
But like a public policy and an MPA 5-year, or law, undergrad, grad law degree in 5 years, 3+2, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to mention on one of our faculty members, Ms. Bright, okay, who she posted an idea, a discussion for environmental science. There's two pieces to this, to using the wiki or using the Canvas, okay? And that is, Canvas is great if you're a faculty team and you want to develop, and you're very clear as a team what you want to do and develop. You know, use the discussion pads, you know, within Canvas and a Plurno. Okay. I think the power of what we're trying to do is enhanced when we can get outsiders involved. Okay. In the process of thinking about a degree program.
Mm.
And so that's why I like using the wiki rather than doing this design work within the context of Canvas. However, there are subjects and times when faculty, you know, experts in the field, practitioners, okay, need to be able to have, you know, frank discussions without a lot of people watching, you know, without a lot of people inputting on particular subjects, even in terms of the creation of a certificate or a degree granting. So we're not telling you use the wiki or just use Canvas. We're giving you the flexibility to do both. I personally think it's more powerful if, again, you could take the wiki on the sustainability degree program and you could start posting it with students to get their input, whether the skills or whether the courses make sense, and whether they like the advising piece. And it's easier to do that with the wiki and getting involved in the discussions there than it is to do that within Canvas, especially if those students are not recruited yet or are not a Plurno students. Now, that being said, remember that, you know, the degree, this idea for a degree program that you've got outlined is, you know, kind of, it's public. It's, everybody's able to see it. So if, you know, you're into super secrecy, then, you know, just use the Canvas. But if you're into, I think degree programs are going to be, it's all about, you know, moving students to your particular classes, okay, to take, and a series of classes that you want to really teach, and also potentially a certificate or degree program that you want to have management of or input into. And I think that's, you know, that's done best in an open environment. But remember, you own your IP. Whether it's, you know, you own the degree, you own the classes that you create. Very difficult with what we've written up here. I mean, there's no intellectual property here to own yet, other than, you know, if you had produced all of the classes, okay?
But even so, those would ultimately be listed with these titles on our marketplace.
On the marketplace, and you own it, so you don't have to worry about us appropriating your stuff.
So are you looking at this tweet?
Yeah. How will a Plurno manage that courses will have to be offered on a regular basis if faculty ebb and flow? Will faculty okay, so let's say a faculty member drops, okay? I mean, that's going to happen. How will we manage that process? Well, since faculty own the IP of their courses, maybe a faculty can't teach a particular class one semester, they don't want to, but they might license, okay, the class to someone else to teach, meaning they'd say, hey, you know, I'll let you use my course materials for, you know, $50 a student or something along that line. And that's something we're building in to the marketplace in a little bit. That's kind of like, you know, Marketplace 2.0. You bill your faculty to license their materials to other people. Okay. You know, there's going to be a faculty ebb and flow. Here's though the difference, Colleen, I think, is that, you know, this is, you're picking the classes that you want to teach. You're not only picking the classes that you want to teach, you control them, you own them. We think that this is going to generate a lot of stickiness and loyalty amongst the faculty. You know, we're not paying you, you're not earning peanuts. Okay, you're not earning the typical adjunct stipend. Okay, you can earn a very nice, you know, the course on system dynamics or any of these particular classes, you know, they're going to, you know, you can earn a very nice living. So we think that's going to going to lessen the ebb and flow. Woodblock, will faculty be able to be put on a list like can also teach so students aren't bottlenecked in needed classes?
It's the same idea.
Same idea. You can license it out. If you've got a really popular class and you can't meet the need, then license it to some other faculty to teach and take a cut. Why wouldn't you? Again, we're going to do with those kinds of cuts the 90-10 rule, meaning you get 90% of your license fee, we get 10. We might even lower that, but we're not going to raise it above 10%.
To be consistent with
everything else. Okay, so we think that's going to generate a lot of cool. Our goal is to make some money. Our goal is to have faculty making the money again, and the students saving on the tuition. We can do very well with our money, making money at a Palermo, but we only make it if faculty is successful and gets to make money.
And the students are pleased with the product and the quality of the courses. So, in this brainstorm session, we've, I would say, completed 85% of a first draft of a proposal. We had people come in through Canvas, through Twitter, through email, collaborating, again, using the Wiki. There are other ways, of course, that I'm personally more of a Google Docs person, Rob's a Wiki person, so however you want to start the conversation is valuable because, you can't have the conversation if you don't start the conversation. So, we urge you to jump in. If you have signed up for Woodblock, for example, you are enrolled in a Canvas course with whatever email. If you're not a faculty member, it's just your personal email. If you are a faculty member, it's your Palermo email address. And there's discussion boards that have really sparked up. I think there's 4 ideas: Bachelor of Science in Business, Political Science, Environmental Science. There's a lot of ways you can use Canvas to just start the conversations and move to other tools. And it also allows you to look around in Canvas and see if it's, or not if, because it is a great product, but what sort of features you might want to use when creating your courses and maybe envisioning your degree proposal through the lens that Canvas and the portal that it'll be between faculty and students.
The only thing I want to add is, those people on Canvas who've created these discussion groups about the Bachelor of Science and International Relations, that's Christopher, and other kinds of degree offerings. Recruit your dream team. You've got an idea of what the perfect department would be, who you want to work with. Okay, recruit them. Have them go to the faculty and sign up. They can sign the contract. We can turn it around in like 24 hours, their contract, so they get a Canvas account, and you can be producing and getting your stuff up to date. You could conceivably have your group and your network and your department up teaching classes, not the degree programs yet, but you could have that, your group up and running and working and producing things, in 48 hours. I mean, when does that ever happen in, traditional higher ed? You've got, don't wait for orders from headquarters, okay? Recruit your dream team, build the courses and the programs and the certificates that you want, okay? And, we're going to review them, but, we've been pleased with the professional, with the professional quality of things that people have created. And so let's just do it. Let's not wait to get have the faculty senate approve your plan for X, Y, Z, okay? You just have a small group of people to deal with, and we can get through those proposals pretty quick. And there are a lot of students who want to learn from you, so, get to it.
Jump in.
Jump in and do it.
So we're gonna, if there aren't any more questions, we like to keep things to an hour if possible for attention span considerations. So I'm just going to look through and make sure we've hit everything we need to. And of course, the conversation continues in the comments section of the YouTube video. If you're in Canvas, pop into the discussion boards there, and or create a wiki page. Do you have anything? We can obviously keep going with this too off air.
We've got just one thing: a general education instructor, just looking to teach gen ed courses. You don't need the certificate program to do that. Just start producing the courses, but we'd really appreciate it if you would, again, recruit gen ed faculty members who want to produce new stuff also.
Right. If you consider yourself a gen ed sort of mind, and that's where your strengths are, we will also be building out Palerno's general education courses. So, be part of that conversation, start that conversation, have your own, and come prepared to the conversation with some thoughts. But again, we're kind of operating on a permission-free progress zone where you just go. We're empowering as many people as we can, including ourselves, including all the future folks who will join us, that this is an entrepreneurial, take control of your content and your future and your income and students, how you can affect the minds of future students. So jump in is really what we're looking for everyone to do here. So thanks for joining us. We will be back tomorrow with day 2 of Woodblock. The schedule has been updated with some rescheduled and augmented sections and presentations. So we look forward to having you, and have a good day, evening, or morning.
Let me add. If you're kind of really inspired to assemble your team right now or to create something, and you want to schedule in a time for Dan or I or Daniel to meet with you to deal with a technical issue and overall question about whether a program is going to have a market, etc. Just shoot us an email at questions@palerno.com, and we'll schedule in something over the next 3 days, a session. We can enter one of your working, if you've got a working group and you're working during one of the times of the working sessions, let us know. We'd love to participate, and we'll come in and answer your questions. So thanks.